Picture this, you're standing in front of a vending machine, you reach for a cold drink and suddenly you're faced with one of the biggest rivalries in history. On the left, Coca-Cola; on the right, Pepsi. They look similar, they taste similar. They're both dark, fizzy, and loaded with sugar. So why have these two drinks been fighting for more than 100 years? And more importantly, if they seem so alike, why do millions of people refuse to drink one but passionately defend the other? Today, we're settling one of the most legendary battles ever created: Coca-Cola versus Pepsi. And trust me, by the end of this video you'll probably look at your favorite soda a little differently. Let's be honest. Almost everyone has had this moment. You walk into a restaurant, you ask for a Coke, the waiter smiles and says, "Is Pepsi okay?" For some people, that's a perfectly normal question. For others, it's almost offensive. But why? Why do people care so much? After all, they're both just soft drinks, right? Well, not exactly. This rivalry didn't start yesterday. It didn't even start 10 years ago. It's over a century old. And over the years, it has become one of the greatest business battles the world has ever seen. It has created unforgettable commercials, celebrity endorsements, marketing wars, blind taste tests, and billions upon billions of dollars in sales. This isn't just about soda anymore, it's about identity. Some families only drink Coke, others proudly choose Pepsi. Sometimes people defend their favorite drink more passionately than they defend their favorite sports team. Sounds crazy, but it's true. So let's go back to where everything began. Coca-Cola came first, way back in 1886. Originally, it wasn't even created as a soft drink. It started as a medicinal tonic sold in pharmacies. Nobody could have imagined that one day it would become one of the most recognizable brands on Earth. A few years later, Pepsi entered the scene. At first, it struggled. In fact, Pepsi went bankrupt more than once. Most companies never recover from something like that, but Pepsi refused to disappear. Instead of giving up, it came back stronger, and that determination would eventually create one of the biggest rivalries in business history. Now here's where things become interesting. If you poured both drinks into two identical glasses, could you actually tell which one is which? Most people immediately say, "Of course I can." But blind taste tests tell a very different story. Many people confidently choose Pepsi, only to discover they've been drinking Coke for years. Others swear Coke tastes better, until the labels disappear. Suddenly, they're not so sure anymore. It's funny how powerful branding can be. Sometimes your brain tastes the logo before your mouth tastes the drink. And that's exactly what makes this rivalry so fascinating. Now let's talk about flavor. Coca-Cola is often described as smoother, richer, and slightly less sweet. Pepsi, on the other hand, is usually considered sweeter with a stronger first sip. That's why some people instantly love Pepsi during taste tests. That first impression is bold, it's exciting. But when people drink an entire can, many say Coke feels more balanced. Does that mean Coke is better? Not necessarily. Taste is personal. There isn't a scientific formula that decides what everyone should enjoy. That's why this debate has lasted for generations. Now imagine you're one of the world's biggest celebrities. Both companies want you in their commercials. Who do you choose, believe it or not? Some of the biggest names in entertainment have joined this battle. Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, Beyoncé, Lionel Messi. Pepsi took a different approach. Instead of focusing on tradition, Pepsi constantly reinvented itself. New logos, bold campaigns, famous musicians, athletes, pop stars, every generation seemed to have its own version of Pepsi. Neither strategy was wrong, they were simply playing different games. Coca-Cola wanted people to feel nostalgic, Pepsi wanted people to feel excited, and somehow, both strategies worked. Now here's a fun question. Which company actually sells more? If you guessed Coca-Cola, you're right. Across much of the world, Coca-Cola remains the larger and more recognized cola brand. But here's the twist: Pepsi has won plenty of battles too. In certain markets, restaurants, promotions, and taste tests, Pepsi has outperformed its biggest rival. That's what makes this rivalry so fascinating. Neither company has completely defeated the other for over 100 years. They've kept pushing each other to improve. Imagine if Pepsi had never existed. Would Coca-Cola have worked so hard to innovate? Probably not. Now imagine Coke disappeared tomorrow. Would Pepsi continue improving at the same speed? Maybe not. Competition creates progress. Without competition, Innovation slows down. This isn't just true for soft drinks, it's true for smartphones, cars, video games, artificial intelligence. Every industry becomes stronger when companies compete. Now let's settle one of the biggest myths. People often ask, which one tastes better? The honest answer, there isn't one, because taste isn't measured with a calculator. It's measured by preference. Some people love Coke because it reminds them of childhood memories, family barbecues, holiday dinners, movie nights. Others love Pepsi because they simply enjoy its sweeter flavor. Neither choice is wrong, it's personal. And that's exactly why this debate has survived for generations. But let's look beyond taste. Which brand built the stronger identity? Coca-Cola has become one of the most recognizable brands on Earth. Its logo is known almost everywhere. Its holiday advertising has become legendary. For many people, Christmas doesn't feel complete until they see a Coca-Cola commercial. That's branding at its highest level. Pepsi, however, built something equally impressive. It became the brand that challenged the giant, the underdog, the company willing to take risks while Coke protected tradition. Pepsi chased change. And millions of people loved that attitude. So, after comparing history, marketing, taste, innovation, global recognition, and cultural impact, who wins if we're talking about worldwide influence, brand recognition, and long-term consistency? Coca-Cola takes the victory, but if we're talking about bold marketing, celebrity culture, and constantly reinventing itself, Pepsi deserves enormous respect. Without Pepsi, the Coca-Cola we know today might never have become so iconic, and without Coca-Cola, Pepsi might never have pushed itself to become better. The truth is, this rivalry never needed a loser. Even pop culture itself became part of the cola wars. Every commercial wasn't just trying to sell a drink, it was trying to sell a lifestyle. Coke focused on happiness, family, sharing moments, tradition. Pepsi aimed for youth. Energy, music, excitement. The message wasn't, buy our soda, it was, join our world, and it worked for decades. But then something unexpected happened. People started caring less about brands and more about health. Suddenly, sugar became the villain, calories mattered, nutrition labels mattered, consumers wanted healthier choices. Both companies had to adapt: diet versions, zero sugar options, smaller cans, new flavors, healthier marketing. The battle changed overnight. It wasn't just Coke versus Pepsi anymore. It became, who can survive a world that's drinking less soda? And surprisingly, both companies found new ways to grow. Because here's something many people don't realize. Neither company depends only on cola anymore. They own huge portfolios of drinks ranging from bottled water and sports beverages to juices, teas, coffee, and energy drinks. That's how giants stay alive. They evolve, but we're only getting started, because the next chapter of this rivalry might be the most surprising one yet, the battle for your mind. Now think about this for a second. When was the last time you saw a Coca-Cola logo? Maybe it was on a billboard, maybe inside a movie, maybe during the biggest sporting event of the year, or maybe you didn't even notice it. That's exactly the point. The best marketing doesn't always feel like marketing. It becomes part of your everyday life. And Coca-Cola mastered that strategy decades ago. Walk into almost any country in the world and chances are you'll recognize that famous red logo instantly. It has become more than a drink, it's a symbol. Because every battle between these two companies gave consumers more choices, better products, and unforgettable advertising. So the next time someone asks, Coke or Pepsi, don't be surprised if the room suddenly turns into a debate. Because after more than a century, this isn't just a drink anymore, it's one of the greatest rivalries in business history. And maybe, the real winner was never Coca-Cola. The real winner was every customer who got to enjoy the competition. Now it's your turn. If you had to choose only one for the rest of your life, which side are you on, Team Coca-Cola or Team Pepsi?